Purpose: to be 100% spiritual. You have to give up your physical, subtle, and causal bodies to serve God. We embrace embodiment of physical, subtle, causal bodies and rest in the heart so that God can guide our every action on all levels, at all times, at all places. Okay. So I'm going to read the poem from the other day and that I posted. Agnes asked me to, and I'm going to read it because that's what we're working on. Execution. You hijacked the practice into a thinking activity, a concept. So sure you know. The practice is not the practice executed by the head. The action is not the moving of letters. The vehicle used is will, focusing attention of preverbal to actively still the vibration that evolves into letters. Willfully practice, and the head falls. Kind of a mic drop moment here. Okay. So the system, which is the head, the shrunken self, is not pure. It is a system. And we can't see clearly if we are identified with that system. The vehicle is the psychic instrument that is used where the system sits there and says, I'm me. Our job is to disentangle. The right effort is to refocus from up in our heads back to the heart. If the system, if the vehicle itself is tamasic, we don't have a chance. It's impure, it's lost, it's caught. Rajasic, running around crazy, that vehicle. We have to get the vehicle sattvic in order to be able to understand. So people do things naturally. How many people did as children activities that they were good at, but they just did it naturally? Didn't think about it, didn't consciously know about it. They were just good at it. Yeah. And when you do that, you think You've got this. But what has to happen is we have to then break it down and learn each of the components of the activity we do, how it functions, and then looking at what we consciously do. A great example for me is I was incredibly athletic. I was naturally a good dancer. And as a little kid, I was dancing in a very well-known ballet school in Boston. I'm 10, 11 years old. What the heck do I know? But it was easy. It was natural. Natural. When I was 19 in college, I went outside the university and would go to a beginning ballet class in town. He was a good teacher, and I learned ballet for the first time. But you were doing it all that time. I did it naturally. I didn't think about it. It wasn't conscious. I could just do it. And so, it's the same internally. There are people who can learn languages, could memorize things the way their minds would work, their psychic instruments could work. They were smart. Were they conscious? Or did they just do it? Most of the time, not conscious at all. And so we continue to educate, hopefully ourselves, so that we are consciously doing the activity from the heart, from the right, quote, place. We're not identified with it. That's what we're talking about here. If we do not break down that system, we are stuck. Our decisions, everything, are based on some weird narrative. And if we look at everything, and we really do, how many in this room, when you were growing up, put on clothes, did your hair, picked food that you thought was terrific. You thought was terrific. Correct. And lo and behold, oh my God, the responses were, whoa, whoa. You could have either gone, they just don't understand me. I am magnificent. You could have reflected and looked and go, well, not a good look. You could have rejected what you've done and try to fit in. There are all kinds of options. But the system only has one option. And you have to look and know, what are the options that your system would do or does? Very important. And this is where Baba would talk about ego death. You're attached to that look, even if everybody, or you deny that look now because everybody, but you're devastated. Whatever way, how much is it really you? Is it really you? Never was you. But this thinking, the system, it's you. So important. The system that is locked in on itself, that hasn't been able to learn, that doesn't ask questions, that doesn't share, that doesn't put it out to sea. It's a scary, scary system. It is so sure it knows, and it is an authoritarian. It is demanding, telling, yelling, coddling, cajoling you. You. Wait a minute. I thought the authoritarian was me. Is it? The mind is sometimes an object and sometimes a subject. When it is an object, who is it that is listening? If you think that the one listening is your true self, oops, oops. If you're a subject, that mind is a subject. If you think that is truly yourself, oops, oops. Neither is you. The disentangling out of all the vehicles brings us out of the system, out of the mind, to an all that is minuscule and humongous. The heart is immanent and transcendent. It's minute and everything. And it is not a particular that you can point to. If we're attached to our psychic instrument, the intellect, that's when we are supposed to do sadhana. The self of all doesn't need to do sadhana. Our wrong identification is what needs to be removed. Do we still need to use the psychic instrument? Of course. But it is not us. And we are supposed to know that, experience that, live that all the time. And does it matter what we do? No. So there are, as in the Yoga Sutras, the understanding, and every tradition talks about the good deeds, the bad deeds, the do's and the don'ts, the moral character that's required. That's a beginning. Is that the end? No, that's behavior modification. So I can do a good deed and continue to have bad motivation. Is that bad motivation going to inform the good deed? Yes. And it will sully the good deed. The good deed will not be received as a good deed. This is so important. Baba didn't care whether my hair was short, long, braided, in a bun, down, up, whatever. He actively made sure I wasn't attached to any specific outfit. And he knew what was important, and what I wanted was the internal experience, practice, lifestyle, living. It's everything. So I can do an action that can be seen or objectively seen is not a nice thing. But because it comes from a different motivation, it's received as love. The yogi in the Yoga Sutras is always navigating, no longer attached, no longer identified with what and who he is not. And this goes to Eckhart's never had a bad day. The rich man sees this poor, disheveled man, and that man is a king. And yet, the system, until we have right effort, the system will discern that that man is pathetic. Our job is not to shine everything up. And I watched Baba not care when people would come with shiny objects. And yet, internally, he knew they were dirty. And then he would see people who were internally pure. And they had really no objects to offer. He was happy as could be. The person who was pure and gave Baba an orange made him happy. The person who was prideful and lost in their own system and their idea of themselves and doing their practice in their heads, he ignored, no matter how fancy the object they brought to him. So important. The right effort is our will turning in. No longer being the support of some ridiculous ideas that are not who we are. And I look at the components of practice, of what people externally see as practice. And they go to, everyone talks about meditation. Oh my God, I remember in Easton, this woman looked at me. She had no idea. She didn't get me at all. And we were out in the street, and she asked me if I had a sitting meditation. And I wanted to say, sitting for whom? For what? I'm meditating right now. Standing, walking, playing, eating, talking to you. But that's not the way we see sadhana. So people love meditation and chanting because then nothing is being confronted in the way that most people meditate. They're doing system meditation. They're having conversations in their heads. They're sleeping, so they have the best deep sleep nap. Seeing a lot of those. Best deep sleep nap. That's not meditation. People talk about mindfulness. That's kind of funny. Like hysterical. Mindful? What's mindful? Who is doing mindful? Mindful of what? Who's the actor? What does it look like? It's such an external practice. Mindfulness. Mindfulness is sitting there being miserable, listening to your thoughts. That's going to do a lot of good. Nope. And I see a lot of, why don't we meditate more? You can meditate. So, you need to know, Baba didn't meditate with us. What? What? That's on your time. Oh, why not? Why not? Baba would walk around sometimes in the meditation room in Ganesh Puri. He'd walk around just to get some exercise. He didn't meditate with us. That was on our time. Next, people do the scriptures, the sutras, the high learning. And I love those. I love the wrestling with the Vijnana Bhairava, the Yoga Sutras, the Shiva Sutras. I love wrestling with that. I love wrestling with the maps. I love that. Don't get me wrong. Favorite fun thing to do. But if your intellect then doesn't take the essence of what that sutra says and imbibe it from deep within, but remains as a wonderful, academic, insightful event, waste of time. Not going to do us any good. Then we have the teaching stories. And I love watching people tune out during the teaching stories that they decide have nothing to do with them. And I'm like, wowzers. Interesting. And the teaching stories are not only based on saints and sadhus of all traditions that are long gone and these stories are recorded. They're based on each one of us. Those are teaching stories. Each one of us has an amazing book of teaching stories. But, oh no, I don't need to listen to that. That's not me. I don't do that. That's not me. Sorry. If it's in your world, yep, it is yours. The epics. Arjuna, the Ramayana, all of these great stories, the gopis, they're all designed for us. It's all about us. We're all Arjuna. We're all Rama. We're all Krishna. We're all of it. And either we learn or we keep it in our heads as just a great, insightful story. And so we don't learn. And then we come to the place that no one likes. Tapasya. Purification. The heating. The cooking. Purification only happens if we are allowing ourselves to be cooked, to burn off the impurities. And if we remain in our heads, if we remain in our defensive systems, there is no purification. There is no tapasya. And we don't learn. We can't learn. And the whole point of tapasya is to surrender one by one each of our vehicles to God, not as an idea, but as a reality. So important. And it has to be done all the time. All the time. I dieted for 2 straight months. I lost 5 pounds, and then I earned a vacation to eat to my heart's content. Oops, lost it all. I exercised. I did this short periods of time, and then it's over. This is an all the time commitment. All the time. However, what's hysterical about it, you don't have to give up your jobs, your hairdos, your outfits, your music tendencies, your entertainment tendencies. You don't have to give any of it up. You can do it all. As long as internally, that's the catch. It's an internal practice. No one has to see it. And it's very clear that only the people who have eyes to see it anyways. There were people that came to see Baba, didn't get him at all. And I would be like, wow. Because for me, it was so obvious. So obvious. But for them, Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's amazing to me. And that is how it works. It doesn't mean that Baba wasn't who he was. So I read something earlier today, last couple of days, where there was this person, not to be named, that all they cared about were numbers. You have to have the big numbers, in order to be of any value. Big platforms, big numbers, that means you are something. And it's funny because Baba used to call those kind of people VIPs. And when he'd call them big people. VIPs and big people. And he didn't really care. But let's get real. Christ did not have a big platform. Pretty small. Buddha, I'm not so sure. It was like magnificently large. Start looking at this. They wouldn't be recognized by the people today who so talk about them, but they talk about them only in the intellect. They're not living their teachings. They're not living the teaching. Tapasya has to occur. If we do not grind down our wrong understanding, our wrong identification, we will never get reality. Does this make sense? Yeah. And again, it's internal. Nobody has to know. You don't have to run around advertising. You don't have to tell. So if we look at, what do they say in the Yoga Sutras as tapasya? He calls it basically Kriya Yoga, but it's austerity. That means not depriving. Self-study. Ooh, that's the one that no one wants to do. The self-study. And surrender to God. It is practiced for the attenuating of the kleshas, the miseries, and bringing about samadhi. So if we actually look at ignorance as taking what not real to be real, what's non-self to be self, and then we lose our subject and object of what we have decided. And then we are attracted to certain things based on who we think we are. And we're repulsed by things based on who we think we are. And then finally, we cling for dear life. Cling to maintain this. We'll defend it at all costs. And if the first thing we were to do is to ask a question, is this an object? Is this ever an object? Can I perceive it? Ooh. That's tapasya. That's the disentangling. The austerity is letting go of what you are not. Giving up attachments. It's not starving in the woods and freezing to death. It's what Baba used to say is giving up what you've never had in the first place. Getting rid of it. Oh, I'm me. Are you? Can I perceive me? Oh, now what do I do? I can. If I can perceive me, I'm not me. And who is it that is perceiving me? Oh, that's me. Nope. I can perceive it. Who we are is the perceiver, not the perceived. So important. So I'm going to read the poem one more time. Execution. You hijacked the practice into a thinking activity, a concept so sure you know. The practice is not the practice executed by the head. The action is not the moving of letters. The vehicle used is will, focusing attention of pre-verbal to actively still the vibration that evolves into letters. Willfully practice, and the head falls.